So how did I break this very problematic habit? I bought monster stickers. Hello and welcome back to my channel. My name is Tara East. I'm a writer, blogger, YouTuber, and the author of the mystery novel Every Time He Writes. And in today's video, I want to talk about what writing habits you created during 2020 that you'd like to carry over into 2021. A recent article published by the New York Times explained why we get so upset when our routines change. Basically, it all comes down to the fact that humans love predictability. Now, why is this? Basically, in prehistoric times, surprises led to really unpleasant outcomes, like a hungry tiger, or drowning in quicksand, or suffocating in quicksand. Do you drown or suffocate in quicksand? We are resistant to change because it represents the unknown, which is why last year, the initial lockdowns that happened added a whole layer of stress to our lives. The good news is that humans are also really adaptive, at least once we get over our initial resistance. Despite where we are in the world, we all made changes last year. We had to adapt. So going into 2021, I wanted to put a positive spin on this stressful situation and break down 5 of the writing-related habits I developed and would like to continue for 2021. The number one thing was timed writing sessions. This worked so well. So honestly, I've pretty much adapted this timed session thing to everything on my to-do list. We all know the Pomodoro technique. You set a timer for 25 or 50 minutes, you focus and you do your work until the timer goes off. Then you get to have a break. Now, I've got to be honest, in the past, I have found the Pomodoro technique really irritating. I found that I would only just be getting into my work and the timer would go off. It just didn't work for me. But last year, I actually found it so helpful to have a container within which my work could get done. And there was something about knowing that I only had to work for 25 minutes that suddenly made the task less daunting and more doable. So far this year, I've been using the Pomodoro technique specifically for the redrafting and now the revision of my latest manuscript. Now, the reason why it worked so well for me is because it created a distraction-free zone. During all of these sessions, I do not check my email, my phone, or duck off to do laundry, make a cup of tea, or some other housey chore. Knowing that I have a 5-minute break coming up allows me to really set these minor or major distractions aside, and instead I just focus on my writing. I also quickly got into the habit of keeping a little bit of scrap paper by my desk, and I'd write down any of those sort of niggly thoughts you get while you're writing, things you want to fact check on Google, or a book you suddenly urgently need to look for on the internet that you heard about in a podcast a few days ago. Or maybe you want to look up a quote and to use it in a non-fiction piece, a recipe for dinner, or you want to check when your next credit card payment is due. Any of those little distractions, I just wrote them on the piece of paper and promised myself I would do that during my break. You know what this is. It's all of those little distractions your inner critic likes to remind you of whenever you're actually doing something important. Because the thing is, whenever you indulge in one of these little checks, it takes up to 25 minutes for you to regain your focus and to get back to where you were before the distraction. Now, fun fact, the average office worker gets interrupted every 11 minutes. So basically, nobody's getting anything done. Now, the crazy thing is, I have my little list of things that need to be checked, but then my timer goes off and I've got a 5-minute break up my sleeve. And like the last thing I want to do is go and check that stuff. Instead, I'm going and making a cup of tea or stretching or walking around. So it just further proves that these little distractions actually aren't that important. The second habit I want to keep is stickers, because apparently I'm 7 years old. So this year I used stickers as a fun way to reward myself for completing a Pomodoro session. And it doubled as a great way to keep track of my deep work state. I tracked these sessions in my planner, and while I have not gone so far as to buy stamps and washi paper, I do enjoy flicking back through my 2020 calendar and seeing all these neat little rows of stickers that have basically documented a visual documentation of my productivity last year. Now, this may sound ludicrous, but this one tiny step, when combined with the Pomodoro technique, really helped me make time for tasks that I had otherwise been avoiding. So for instance, I'm currently doing a doctorate in creative writing, and as part of that dissertation, I have to do a lot of research. Now, research for me means reading. Reading fiction books, reading scholarly articles and literary journals, reading dense books about theory, and basically anything else that seems even mildly relevant to my research area. So by July last year, I had this file on my computer that was just stuffed with articles and links to books that I needed to buy and read. But every single time I sat down to start reading, I'd just find myself abandoning ship to go work on my novel or some other academic article or any other writing related task. So how did I break this very problematic habit? I bought monster stickers. Witches, demons, vampires, jack-o'-lanterns, and werewolves. That's how I got it done. I'd close my email, put my phone on flight mode, and read until the timer went off. Then I got a nifty sticker and stuck that sucker down in my diary, a visual representation of progress. Number 3. Less parameters, more doey. So, full confession, I absolutely stole this idea from B.E. Schwab. It's pretty simple. It's vital that you have as few parameters around your writing as possible. Now, ideally, I'd love to write in my home office on a clean desk with a candle burning and a large pot of chai by my side while listening to some looped recordings of rain sounds. In this scenario, I would have hours of open time ahead of me. I have nowhere to be and nothing else that needs to be done. Bonus points for fresh flowers, a new notepad, and some snazzy pens, and double bonus points if the house is empty and free of distraction. Now, if I actually needed all of these things to write, I'd be lucky to get one session done a fortnight. It's far better that you keep things simple. Don't let your inner critic create this false narrative that you can only write in perfect conditions. There are only a few things that you really need to write: a laptop, a bit of time, and maybe a drink. Though some white noise loops would be nice too. Number 4, letting go of scheduling everything. Honestly, it really took me a while to let go of scheduling my days. I found this one really hard. For the past 2 years, I've really struggled with the fact that my workday doesn't start until 9 a.m. You know, I really adore working from 7 a.m. until 3 p.m., but with my partner home now, making that happen just feels a lot more difficult. So I chose to readjust my schedule so that we have a longer morning together, and that's our time together. And then we both go off 9 o'clock in the morning and work in our respective offices until late in the afternoon. I have found my place in this new rhythm and my body has adjusted to this new routine. But of course, there are mornings when my foot is tapping under the kitchen table and I'm itching to jump into my work at 7:30. But for the most part, I am really enjoying these longer mornings and being able to front end my day with all of the slow, lovely, juicy moments of a day that I used to sort of save for like the afternoon or evening. Number 5, experimenting with my routine. So this one was huge for me. So for the longest time, I believed that I could only write in the morning. See tip number 3. Now look, I am a morning person. By 5 p.m., I am so done with everything. However, for the longest time, I thought that writing in the afternoon was so painful that I was just better off writing off the day and deciding to get back in the chair the next day. If I didn't write in the morning, then there just wasn't any point in trying to write in the afternoon. But then I started teaching for the first time during 2020, and I was picking up other little bits of freelance editing work. Then I started working at a function center just to help out whenever they needed an extra hand. I started a book club, I joined a few committees at my university, and all of a sudden, it became very difficult to keep those mornings only for writing, especially Monday to Friday. I had to learn to become more flexible. I had to learn how to write in the afternoon, even though it isn't my preferred time. So how did I do this? I made a decision, I set a timer, I bought some cool stickers, And I was really gentle with myself and I lowered my expectations. I didn't expect myself to outlay as many words in the afternoon as I do in the morning. Now, of course, I wish 2020 had played out differently, but it didn't. While many of these changes were unwelcomed in the beginning, now I'm actually really grateful that I've established all of these new, really helpful habits. Now I'd love to hear from you. What are some new habits or changes that you made during 2020 that you'd like to carry over into 2021? Leave a comment below and tell me all about it because I'd love to hear. Now, if you'd like even more writing advice, you can of course check out the other videos on this channel or head to taraeast.com and dive into the archives. While you're there, be sure to join my email newsletter, link in the description box below, because when you do, I'll send you a free gift. Yay! You'll also get a newsletter in your inbox every Thursday morning, which contains a letter from me, plus all the juicy resources I discovered that week, a cool writing quote, and some other little bits that I only share via email. I hope you're having a fantastic week and that you're getting lots of writing done, because the world actually does need more books. Stay safe, stay calm, and keep writing, and I'll see you next week.